Yes, it worked. Whoa!
Nick Harmon noticed the silence first. Not the comfortable quiet of two people who'd been married 15 years, but the kind that pressed against his eardrums like water pressure at depth. Clara sat across from him at La Bernardin, their anniversary dinner, scrolling through her phone with the dedication of a day trader watching the market crash. "The salmon's getting cold," he said. She didn't look up. "Mm-hmm," she murmured. Nick watched his wife's face illuminate in the blue glow of her screen. When had her jaw gotten so sharp? When had those lines appeared between her eyebrows? He knew the answer. 3 months ago, when she'd landed the Whitmore Industries redesign. Since then, every conversation felt like an interruption. "Naomi's art show is Thursday," he tried again. "She's doing that piece about—" "Can't make it," Clara cut in, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "Leh, client dinner." "You missed the last two," he pointed out. Now she looked up, and Nick almost wished she hadn't. Her green eyes held the same calculation he saw when she evaluated paint swatches. "And your firm cleared what last quarter?" 30% less than mine?" she asked coolly. "Maybe focus on that instead of guilt-tripping me about school events." The waiter appeared, refilling wine glasses with practiced invisibility. Nick waited until he left. "It's not about money," he said. "Everything's about money, Nick." "That's why you're an accountant," she retorted. She picked up her fork, took one bite of the $60 entree, then pushed it aside. "God, this is oversalted," she complained. It wasn't. Nick had ordered the same dish, but he'd learned which battles to fight and which to let die in the no-man's land between them. His phone buzzed. A text from Naomi. "Mom coming tonight?" He typed back. "Not sure, sweetheart." Clara was already standing, designer purse clutched like a weapon. "I need to get back to the office. Presentation tomorrow," she announced. "It's 9:30, he stated. "And?" she challenged. Nick watched her leave, heels clicking against marble like a countdown. The waiter approached with the check, and Nick handed over his credit card without looking at the total. What was the point? Clara was right. His firm was struggling. 3 clients lost in 2 months, all to mysterious, better offers from competitors. He drove home alone, finding Naomi in the living room, math homework spread across the coffee table. At 13, she'd inherited his dark hair and Clara's sharp features, but her eyes, brown like his, held a wariness that made his chest tight. "Mom's working late," he said. Again, Naomi stated, not as a question as she gathered her papers. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Always," he replied. "Are you and Mom okay?" she asked tentatively. The lie came automatically. "Of course, just busy. You know how it is," he reassured her. But Naomi's expression said she knew exactly how it was. She kissed his cheek goodnight, and Nick sat alone in the house that suddenly felt too big, too quiet, too much like a stage set for a life that had already wrapped production. He poured himself a scotch, Macallan 18, a gift from Clara back when she still gave gifts, and opened his laptop. The firm's accounts glowed back at him, red numbers like accusations. He'd built Harmon Accounting from nothing, just him and Jordan Dale grinding through 16-hour days in a rented office that smelled like burnt coffee and ambition. Now, 15 years later, he was bleeding clients and didn't know why. His phone buzzed. "Clara, don't wait up." Nick finished his scotch and poured another. The house settled around him with small sounds. The refrigerator humming, the grandfather clock in the foyer marking time like a metronome. He thought about calling Jordan, but what would he say? That his wife had become a stranger? That his business was failing? That he felt like a ghost haunting his own life? Instead, he climbed the stairs to their bedroom. His bedroom now, really, since Clara spent most nights on the office couch, and lay down fully clothed. Sleep didn't come. It rarely did anymore. At 2 a.m., he heard the garage door. Clara's footsteps on the stairs, careful and quiet like she was sneaking into her parents' house past curfew. The bedroom door opened, and Nick kept his breathing steady, feigning sleep. She undressed in the dark, and he caught a scent that wasn't her perfume. Something masculine, expensive. Cologne that cost more than most people's car payments. She slipped into bed, careful not to touch him, and within minutes, her breathing deepened into sleep. Nick stared at the ceiling, that foreign scent filling his nostrils like evidence of a crime he couldn't name. His wife was 36 years old, beautiful, successful, and sharing a bed with him like they were strangers in a hostel. careful not to violate each other's space. When had it happened? When had 15 years compressed into this airless box where they performed marriage like actors who'd forgotten their lines? He must have dozed because suddenly gray light was filtering through the blinds and Clara's side of the bed was empty. The shower was running. Nick checked his phone 5:47 a.m. She used to sleep until 7, curled against him like a cat. Now she was up before dawn, eager to escape into her day. He found her in the kitchen, already dressed in a black sheath dress that probably cost more than his monthly car payment. She was texting again, smiling at her screen with an expression he hadn't seen directed at him in months. "Morning," he said. She startled, nearly dropping her phone. "Jesus, Nick, announce yourself," she snapped. "I live here," he replied dryly. "Barely," she muttered. She grabbed her travel mug, filled it with coffee she hadn't offered to share. "I might be late again tonight. The Whitmore project is eliminating us," Nick finished. "I know. You've mentioned it." Claire's eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" she demanded. "Nothing. Just, Naomi misses you," he said. "Naomi's 13. She'll survive," Claire dismissed, checking her phone again, that secret smile flickering across her face. "I have to go." "It's 6 in the morning," he pointed out. "Early meeting," she said, already heading for the garage. "There's leftover Thai in the fridge." The door closed with a finality that echoed through the kitchen. Nick stood there, coffeeless, watching the space where his wife had been like he could decode the mystery of her transformation if he stared hard enough. Naomi appeared in the doorway, already dressed for school. "She left?" "Early meeting," Nick repeated. His daughter's expression was carefully neutral. "Right," she said. They ate breakfast together, scrambled eggs and toast, nothing fancy, and Nick drove her to school. As she got out, Naomi turned back. "Dad?" she began. "That cologne Mom was wearing last night? It's not hers." Nick's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "What do you mean?" he asked. "I mean it's men's cologne. Versace Eros." "Tyler's older brother wears it," she explained, shouldering her backpack. "Just thought you should know." She walked into school before Nick could respond, leaving him sitting in the drop-off lane with his world tilting off its axis. His 13-year-old daughter had noticed what he'd been trying to ignore. The foreign scent, the late nights, the phone that never left Clara's hand. He drove to his office on autopilot, mind racing. There had to be an explanation. Clara was ambitious, not cruel, distant, not deceptive. They'd built a life together. They had Naomi. They had the house, the retirement accounts, the shared history of 15 years. They had nothing, a voice whispered. Just parallel lives that occasionally intersected at dinner tables and school events. Jordan was already at his desk when Nick arrived, reviewing portfolios with the concentration of a surgeon. "You look like hell," Jordan said without looking up. "Thanks. Exactly what I needed to hear," Nick replied sarcastically. "What are friends for?" Jordan finally met his eyes. "Seriously, you okay?" Nick wanted to tell him. Wanted to spill every suspicion, every lonely night, every time Clara looked through him like he was furniture. Instead, he said, "Just tired. The Morrison account is keeping me up." "The Morrison account we lost last month?" Jordan questioned. Figure of speech," Nick mumbled. Jordan's expression said he wasn't buying it, but he let it go. They worked in companionable silence until lunch, when Nick's phone buzzed. Clara. "Working through dinner." "Don't wait up." He stared at the message, anger rising like mercury in a thermometer. 2 anniversary dinners missed, 3 of Naomi's events. Countless nights of working late that left him eating alone while his daughter did homework in an empty house. "I need some air," he told Jordan. He walked around the block, autumn air sharp against his face. The city moved around him. People with purpose, with destinations, with lives that made sense. When had his stopped making sense? Back at the office, he tried to focus on work, but his mind kept circling back to that cologne, to Clara's smile at her phone, to the way she'd startled when he'd entered the kitchen, guilty as a teenager caught sneaking out. At 3, his phone rang. Naomi's school. "Mr. Harmon, this is Principal Davies." "There's been an incident," the principal said. Nick's blood went cold. "Is Naomi okay?" he asked urgently. "She's fine, but she's quite upset. Apparently she saw her mother." Well, perhaps it's better if you come down, Principal Davies suggested. Nick broke speed limits getting to the school. He found Naomi in the principal's office, eyes red-rimmed but chin defiant. What happened? Nick asked his daughter. Principal Davies cleared his throat. Naomi left campus during lunch. She says she saw her mother at Café Blanc with a man who wasn't you. There was an altercation. I didn't mean to, Naomi burst out. I just wanted to surprise her, to have lunch like we used to. But she was there with him and they were what? Nick's voice came out steady, but his hands were shaking. Holding hands, laughing. He kept touching her face. Naomi's voice cracked. When she saw me, she got so mad. Said I was spying, that I had no right. She said Dad would hear about this. I'll handle it, Nick told the principal. We're going home. In the car, Naomi finally broke down. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I just missed her and I thought, hey, Nick interrupted, pulling over and gathering his daughter into his arms. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. Who was he? Naomi's voice was muffled against his shirt. The man with Mom? Nick didn't answer because he didn't know, but he was going to find out. At home, he sent Naomi to do homework and called Clara, straight to voicemail. He texted, we need to talk. Tonight. Her response was immediate. In a meeting. Whatever Naomi told you, she's being dramatic. We'll discuss her behavior when I get home. Her behavior. Like their 13-year-old was the problem. Nick poured himself a drink and opened Claire's laptop. They'd always shared passwords, back when they shared everything else. Her email was open, inbox full of client correspondence. He almost closed it, almost respected the boundary. Then, he saw it. An email thread with someone named V. Corey. Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you. Tuesday, same place. He doesn't suspect a thing. Nick's hands were steady as he took screenshots. His mind was clear as he forwarded the evidence to his personal email. He felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a strange clarity, like finally solving an equation that had been frustrating him for months. He heard the garage door at 10:30. Claire entered through the kitchen and Nick was waiting in the living room, scotch untouched on the coffee table beside her laptop. She froze when she saw him. Nick, you're up, she said, surprised. Sit down, he commanded. I don't appreciate your tone. If this is about Naomi, she began. Sit down, he repeated, his voice firm. Something in his voice must have penetrated because she perched on the edge of the armchair, designer purse clutched in her lap. What's this about? She asked. Nick turned the laptop around, watched the color drain from her face as she recognized the email thread. I can explain, she started. Don't, he cut her off, the word sharp enough to cut. Just tell me who he is. Claire's mouth opened, closed. For once, her phone was silent. It's not what you think, she managed. It's exactly what I think, Nick said, his voice calm, conversational. You're sleeping with V. Corey. Meeting him Tuesdays at the Whitmore Hotel. Yes, I checked your credit card statements. The only thing I don't know is who he is. Vincent, the name came out like a confession. Vincent Corey. He's an investor. He funds my projects. Ah, Nick leaned back. So you're screwing him for money. That's so much better. Don't be crude, she snapped. Crude? Now the anger came, hot and bright. Our daughter saw you with him. She tried to have lunch with her mother and instead got a front row seat to your affair. And you want to talk about crude? Clara stood, started pacing. You don't understand. Vincent appreciates my work. He sees my potential. When's the last time you asked about my designs? When's the last time you showed interest in anything I do? I asked about your work constantly. You were too busy texting to answer, he countered. Because you don't really care. Clara's composure cracked. You ask out of obligation. You go through the motions. Everything with you is obligation, even this. She gestured between them. Is just another item on your checklist. Marriage, maintained. Wife, managed. Life, balanced, like one of your goddamn spreadsheets. So you decided to find someone else to appreciate you, he stated. Yes. The word hung between them like a confession. Clara sank back into the chair. Yes, someone who sees me as more than just a function in the perfect suburban equation. Someone who... Stop. Nick held up a hand. I don't want details. I just want to know how long. 4 months, she admitted. 4 months. While he'd been trying to save their marriage, she'd been destroying it. The Whitmore Project, he said, understanding dawning. He introduced me to them. Helped me get the contract. Claire's voice was small now. Nick, I didn't mean for it to happen. It just... The Tuesday firm dinners you missed. They weren't firm dinners, he stated. No, she confirmed. The late nights at the office. Not always. Sometimes I really was working, she offered weakly. How generous of you, Nick said, picking up his scotch and taking a sip. It tasted like ashes. We're done, Clara. Nick, please, we can work through this. Counseling or... She pleaded. No, he stood. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure out logistics. But this... Us. We're done. What about Naomi? She asked. What about her? She already knows. She figured it out before I did, Nick said, heading for the stairs. Congratulations, Clara. You've successfully blown up our daughter's life for a man named Vincent, who appreciates you. Hope it was worth it. He was halfway up when Clara called out, You want to know the really pathetic part? You didn't even notice I was gone. 4 months, and you never once asked where I was, who I was with. You were so caught up in your failing firm and your boring routines that you didn't even notice your wife had checked out. Nick turned. I noticed. I just thought you were going through something. I thought if I gave you space, you'd come back. I thought 15 years meant something. It did. It does, she insisted. Number it meant something. Past tense. Now it's just paperwork, he corrected. He made it to the guest room before the shaking started. 15 years, a house, a daughter. A life built on what he'd thought was solid ground, now revealed as quicksand. His phone buzzed. Jordan, you okay? You left your briefcase. Nick almost laughed. His briefcase. Like that mattered. Like anything mattered except the fact that his wife was in love with someone else, and his daughter had discovered it over lattes and betrayal. He texted back, family emergency. Talk tomorrow. Then he turned off his phone, lay on the guest bed fully clothed for the second night in a row, and stared at the ceiling. The house was quiet. No footsteps on the stairs. No soft knock on the door. Just the sound of his marriage flatlining in the dark. Tomorrow he'd have to tell Naomi that her parents were separating. Tomorrow he'd have to call a lawyer. Tomorrow he'd have to start dismantling 15 years piece by piece. But tonight he just lay there, replaying every late night, every missed dinner, every time Clara smiled at her phone like it held secrets worth keeping. The signs had been there, bright as neon. He'd just been too afraid to read them. At some point he must have slept, because he woke to sunlight and the sound of Naomi's voice in the hall. Where's Dad? Naomi asked. Guest room, Claire's voice replied, carefully neutral. He wasn't feeling well. Nick opened the door. I'm fine, sweetheart, he said. Naomi looked between them, reading the landscape of their faces. You know, she stated. I know, Nick confirmed. His daughter's shoulders sagged with relief and guilt. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. No, Clara stepped forward. I'm sorry. What you saw yesterday, Naomi, it's complicated. It's not that complicated, Naomi said quietly. You're cheating on Dad. With that man from the restaurant. The one who wears too much cologne? Clara's face went white. How do you... I'm not stupid, Mom. You come home smelling like him. You smile at your phone like it's Christmas. You miss my art show for him. Naomi's voice was steady, but tears tracked down her cheeks. I kept hoping I was wrong. That maybe you were just planning a surprise for Dad or something. But I wasn't wrong, was I? No, Clara whispered. You weren't wrong. The three of them stood in the hallway like actors who'd forgotten their marks. Finally, Nick cleared his throat. Naomi, why don't you get ready for school? I'll drive you, he suggested. Are you and Mom getting divorced? Naomi asked directly. Nick met Clara's eyes over their daughter's head. Clara gave the tiniest nod. We're going to separate, Nick said carefully. But that doesn't change how much we both love you. That's what Ashley's parents said. Now her dad lives in a condo and dates women half his age, Naomi said, turning toward her room. I'll be ready in 10 minutes. When her door closed, Clara sagged against the wall. She hates me, she choked out. She's hurt. There's a difference, Nick replied. Is there? Because from where I'm standing, it looks pretty much the same, Clara said, then straightened. We need to talk about logistics. The house, custody. Not now, Nick interrupted. He needed coffee. He needed a shower. He needed his life to make sense again. Tonight, after I get home from work. I have a... Clara stopped. Right, tonight. Nick showered and dressed, while Clara made herself scarce. When he came downstairs, Naomi was waiting by the door, backpack slung over one shoulder. Dad, is this my fault? The divorce, she asked, her voice small. What? Number God, no. Nick pulled her into a hug. Your mom and I... We've been having problems for a while. This has nothing to do with you. But if I hadn't seen them, she began, then we'd still be having problems. You just helped us face them, he reassured her, kissing the top of her head. None of this is your fault. Remember that. They drove to school in silence. As Naomi got out, she turned back. Dad, are you going to be okay? The question broke his heart. I will be. We all will. It just might take some time, he promised. She nodded and disappeared into the building. Nick sat there for a moment, watching other parents drop off their kids, everyone performing the morning ritual, like their worlds weren't falling apart. Maybe some of them were. Maybe the dad in the BMW was sleeping in his guest room too. Maybe the mom in the Range Rover was texting her own Vincent. At the office, Jordan took one look at him and closed the door. What happened? He asked. Clara's having an affair, Nick stated flatly. The words hung in the air like a confession. Jordan sank into his chair. Jesus. Nick, I'm sorry. How did you... Naomi saw them together. Then I found emails, Nick explained, rubbing his face. 4 months, Jordan. She's been seeing him for 4 months. Who is he? Jordan asked. Vincent Corey, an investor, apparently. He funds her projects, Nick laughed bitterly. She's literally sleeping with him for money. That's... I don't even know what to say, Jordan stammered. There's nothing to say. It's done. We're done, Nick said, opening his laptop, trying to focus on the screen. I need to find a lawyer. Can you recommend anyone? Lauren Carver, Jordan suggested. Nick looked up. My ex-girlfriend, Lauren? She's one of the best divorce attorneys in the city now. I know it's weird, but Jordan began. It's fine. Ancient history, Nick interjected, making a note. Can you handle the Morrison meeting this afternoon? I need to deal with this. Of course, whatever you need, Jordan assured him. They worked in relative silence until lunch. Nick was reviewing the quarterly reports when something caught his eye. 3 clients lost, all in the last 4 months, all to the same competitor, Apex Financial Group. Jordan? Who owns Apex? Nick asked. Jordan typed for a moment. Vincent Corey. Why? Nick's blood went cold. He's been poaching our clients, he realized. What? How do you know? Jordan exclaimed. Because he's sleeping with my wife, Nick stated, pulling up the client files. Look at the timeline. Every client we lost corresponds with Clara's late nights at the office. She had access to our client list. She knew our vulnerabilities. You think she was feeding him information? Jordan asked, shocked. I think Vincent Corey has been systematically destroying my business while screwing my wife, Nick said, closing his laptop. I need to see Lauren, now. Lauren Carver's office occupied the top floor of a building that screamed success. Nick felt underdressed in his off-the-rack suit, but Lauren greeted him warmly, professional despite their history. Nick, it's been, 15 years, she said? 16. You look good, Lauren, he replied. Divorce law agrees with me, she quipped, gesturing to a chair. Jordan said you need help. Nick told her everything, the affair, the clients, his suspicions about Vincent. Lauren took notes, asking pointed questions that made him realize how much he'd been willfully blind to. First things first, she said when he finished. We need to freeze assets before Clara starts moving money. Based on what you've told me, there's a strong possibility of financial fraud. Has she had access to your business accounts? She's listed as an emergency signatory, in case something happened to me, he explained. Lauren's expression tightened. Us, we need to check those accounts. Today. If she's been feeding Vincent information, she might have done more than that. The room tilted. You think she stole from me? He asked, stunned. I think a woman who'd betray 15 years of marriage might be capable of other betrayals, Lauren stated, pulling up a forensic accountant on her computer. Can you meet with him this afternoon? Nick nodded, numb. An hour ago, his biggest concern was custody arrangements. Now he was looking at potential embezzlement. His phone buzzed. Clara, can we talk? Please, I know you're angry, but we need to discuss this rationally. He showed Lauren. What do I do? He asked. Don't respond. Not until we know what we're dealing with, Lauren advised, making another note. Has she exhibited any unusual behavior lately? Large purchases? Suddenly interested in financial documents? She wanted to refinance the house last month. Said rates were good. I thought. Nick trailed off. I thought she was being practical. We'll pull the paperwork. If she was trying to cash out equity, Lauren didn't finish. She didn't need to. Nick left her office with a list of tasks and a growing dread. He'd thought Clara was just having an affair. Bad enough. But this, potential theft, fraud, the systematic destruction of everything he'd built, this was something else entirely. The forensic accountant, a man named Davies with the demeanor of an undertaker, confirmed his worst fears that afternoon. There have been irregularities, transfers to accounts I can't trace. Small amounts, but consistent. Someone's been bleeding you slowly, Davies reported. How much? Nick asked. Over the past 4 months? Close to $200,000, Davies replied. Nick had to sit down. $200,000. Their savings. Naomi's college fund. Their future. Can you prove it was Clara? He questioned. The transfers coincide with her access logins. Either it was her or someone using her credentials. Davies adjusted his glasses. Has anyone else had access to her passwords? Vincent, of course. Clara pillow-talking their financial details, while her lover took notes. Nick called Lauren. It's worse than we thought, he said. How much worse? She asked. He told her. The silence on the other end stretched so long, he thought they'd been disconnected. Nick, she finally said, this isn't just divorce anymore. This is criminal. We need to involve the police. What about Naomi? This will destroy her, he worried. What Clara's done will destroy her worse if we don't act. Trust me. I've seen this before. Lauren's voice was gentle but firm. Go home. Don't confront Clara. Act normal. Can you do that? I don't know, he admitted. You have to. If she knows we're onto the theft, she might run. Or worse, she might accelerate whatever plans she and Vincent have, Lauren warned. Nick drove home in a daze. $200,000, his clients, his marriage, his life parceled out and sold to a man named Vincent, who wore too much cologne and had too much money, and had taken everything Nick thought was solid and revealed it as vapor. Clara's car was in the garage. Nick sat in his own car for a moment, preparing. He had to pretend everything was fixable. Had to let her think he was just another wronged husband, not a man discovering the depth of betrayal possible in someone who'd once promised to love and cherish. He found her in the kitchen, cooking, something she hadn't done in months. The table was set for 3, candles and everything. I thought we should have a family dinner, she said without turning around. Talk things through. Where's Naomi? He asked. Upstairs. Homework, Clara replied, finally facing him. She'd been crying. Makeup carefully reapplied, but not quite hiding the puffiness. Nick, about last night. We agreed to talk after dinner, he interjected. Right. Of course, she conceded, turning back to the stove. I made your favorite. Pot roast. They ate in excruciating silence. Naomi pushed food around her plate, sneaking glances between her parents. Clara kept trying to start conversations that died after a few words. Nick focused on chewing, swallowing, pretending his world hadn't imploded. After dinner, Naomi escaped to her room. Clara started clearing plates. Should we talk now? She asked. Let me help, Nick stood, carrying dishes to the sink. Normal. Act normal. You cooked, I'll clean. Together? Hope flickered in her voice. They worked side by side, and for a moment, Nick could almost pretend. This was their life. Their kitchen. Their routine. Then Clara's phone buzzed, and she grabbed it so fast, she knocked over a wine glass. Sorry, She saw the screen and her face changed. It's nothing. Work. But Nick had glimpsed the name. Vincent. You should get that, he said evenly. It might be important. It can wait, she insisted, but her hands shook as she deleted the message. They finished cleaning in silence. Finally, Clara couldn't stand it anymore. Nick, I know I've hurt you. Hurt us. But we can get through this. Counseling, therapy, whatever it takes. 15 years, Nick. That has to mean something. It does mean something. It means I trusted you for 15 years, Nick said, drying his hands slowly. Tell me about Vincent. I told you. He's an investor, she repeated. Tell me about Apex Financial, he pressed. Clara went very still. What about it? She asked. 3 of our clients jumped to Apex in the last 4 months. Funny coincidence, he remarked. I don't know anything about that, she denied. Don't lie to me, Clara. Not anymore. Nick kept his voice level. Did you give him our client list? Number I would never, she exclaimed. Did you tell him about the Morrison account? Their dissatisfaction with the fee structure? He continued. Clara's silence was answer enough. Jesus Christ, Nick gripped the counter. You didn't just cheat on me. You helped him destroy my business. It wasn't like that. Vincent asked about my day, about stress at home. I might have mentioned things, but I never thought... She stammered. You never thought he'd use pillow talk to poach clients? Nick laughed bitterly. How naive are you? Don't talk to me like I'm stupid, she retorted. Then stop acting like it, he shot back, the anger harder to contain now. 200,000, Clara. She went white. What? She whispered. Don't. Just don't. Nick moved toward the door. I know about the transfers, the bleeding accounts. $200,000 of our money gone. Nick, I can explain, she began. Can you? Can you explain why you gave your boyfriend access to our financial information? Can you explain why Naomi's college fund is empty? Can you explain any of this in a way that doesn't make you a thief as well as an adulterer? He demanded. Clara sank into a chair. It's not what you think, she mumbled. It never is, he replied. Vincent needed capital for a deal, a sure thing. He promised to triple the investment. I thought I was helping our future, she explained desperately. By stealing from our present? He questioned. It wasn't stealing. It was investing. When the deal pays out, she tried. There is no deal, Nick's voice was flat. He played you, Clara. Took you for everything he could get, money, information, whatever else you gave him. And you let him because what? He made you feel special? Appreciated? You don't understand what it's been like. Living in this house, in this life. Everything so predictable and safe and boring. Vincent made me feel alive again, she cried. Alive, Nick tasted the word. Was it worth it? Destroying our daughter's trust, our marriage, my business, was feeling alive worth all that? Clara started crying. I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. He won't return my calls. Said he needs space to think. After everything I risked. You thought he'd leave his wife for you? Nick almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Clara, men like Vincent don't leave their wives for their mistresses. They just find new mistresses. I need to call him. Explain that, you know. Maybe if he understands, she pleaded. He understands perfectly. He got what he wanted. Money, clients, Zex. Now that there might be consequences, he's gone, Nick said, heading for the stairs. I'm sleeping in the guest room again. Tomorrow, you need to find somewhere else to stay. This is my house, too, she yelled. Not anymore, he paused at the doorway. My lawyer will be in touch, and Clara? If you try to contact Vincent, if you move any more money, if you so much as breathe wrong, I'll file criminal charges. Are we clear? She was still crying when he closed the door. The next morning, Nick woke to find Clara gone. A note on the kitchen counter. Staying with my sister. We need to talk about Naomi. Please don't poison her against me. Too late for that, Nick thought. Clara had poisoned that well herself. He called Jordan. I need you to change all the passwords on our systems, everything. And can you meet with the remaining clients today? Damage control. Already on it. How are you holding up? Jordan asked. I'm not sure I am, Nick admitted, making coffee, the machine too loud in the empty kitchen. She's gone, moved out. That's probably for the best. Listen, I did some digging on Vincent Corey. He's bad news, Nick. SEC investigated him twice for fraud. Never could make anything stick. But the rumors, Jordan said. What kind of rumors? Nick inquired. The kind that say he specializes in desperate women with access to money. Clara's not his first, Jordan revealed. Nick's stomach turned. You're saying he targeted her? I'm saying Vincent Corey has a pattern, and your wife fit the profile, Jordan paused. There's more. Apex Financial, it's a shell company. Registered in the Caymans. Our clients aren't just gone, Nick. They're probably being bled dry. We have to warn them, Nick urged. Already did. Morrison's forensic team is all over it. They're grateful we caught it when we did. Jordan cleared his throat. They want to come back. All 3 clients do. Apparently, Apex has been a nightmare to work with. Small miracles, Nick felt a flutter of hope. Can we handle them? If we hire help? I know things are tight, but, Jordan began. Do it. Whatever we need, Nick decided. The business could be saved. That was something. Jordan, thanks. For everything. That's what partners are for, Jordan replied. Nick spent the morning on the phone with Lauren, the afternoon with the forensic accountant. By evening, they had a clear picture. Clara had been moving money for months, small transfers that added up to staggering theft. The Whitmore project that had supposedly launched her career, funded by their savings. The designer clothes, the new laptop, the weekend conferences, all paid for with money stolen from their future. The good news, Davies said, is that we can trace it. The bad news is recovery will be difficult. These offshore accounts, they're designed to hide assets. What about Vincent? Nick asked. If we can prove he received stolen funds, that's wire fraud. Federal crime, Davies closed his file. But we need Clara to cooperate. Turn state's evidence, as it were. Nick almost laughed. Clara betraying Vincent the way she'd betrayed him? There was poetry in it, he supposed. When he got home, Naomi was in the kitchen making a sandwich with mechanical precision. Mom called. Wanted me to come stay with Aunt Janet's, she informed him. What did you tell her? Nick asked. That I had a history test tomorrow. Naomi met his eyes. I don't want to see her right now. Is that awful? No, sweetheart. It's honest, Nick sat across from her. Your mom made some bad choices, but she loves you. That hasn't changed, hasn't it? Naomi's voice was bitter beyond her years. She loved you too, supposedly. Look how that turned out. They ate dinner together, Chinese takeout, because neither could face cooking. The fortune cookies sat unopened. What was the point of glimpsing a future when the present was in ruins? That night, Nick lay in his own bed for the first time in days. The sheets still smelled faintly of Clara's perfume, the expensive kind he'd bought her last Christmas. He stripped the bed, threw everything in the wash. Fresh start. His phone rang at midnight. Clara. He's gone, she said without preamble. Vincent. His phone's disconnected. His office says he's on extended leave. Nick, what do I do? You're asking me for advice after everything? He questioned, incredulous. I don't have anyone else, she was crying again. My sister thinks I'm crazy. My friends, I can't tell them. You're the only one who knows. I know because you destroyed our life, Clara. Forgive me if I'm fresh out of sympathy, he retorted. The money, Nick. He has our money. What if we can't get it back, she fretted. Then we deal with it. Sell the house, downsize, start over. Nick stared at the ceiling. People do it every day. I can't lose the house. It's all I have left, she pleaded. You should have thought of that before you gave our savings to your boyfriend, he said coldly. He promised, she began. Con men always promise, Clara. That's what makes them con men, Nick sat up. Listen to me. Tomorrow, you're going to Lauren's office. You're going to tell her everything. Every transfer, every conversation, every detail about Vincent's operation. If you cooperate fully, maybe we avoid criminal charges. Criminal? Her voice went up an octave. Nick, I can't go to jail. What about Naomi? What about her? You didn't think about Naomi when you were sneaking around. When you were stealing her college fund? Why start now? He challenged. That's not fair, she protested. Fair? Now Nick laughed. You want to talk about fair? Fair is 15 years of marriage meaning something. Fair is trust and honesty and not screwing someone else while your husband sleeps alone. Fair is not stealing from your family to impress your side piece. So no, Clara, we're well past fair. She was quiet for so long he thought she'd hung up. Then, I loved him, she whispered. I know, he replied. No, you don't. You can't. Because you've never loved anyone the way I loved Vincent. With you, it was always comfortable, safe, like wearing old slippers. With him, it was fire, she argued. Fire burns, Clara. That's what it does, he stated. At least I felt something, she retorted. The words were meant to wound, and they did, but not the way she intended. They made him sad for her, for them, for the life they'd built on such shaky ground. Good night, Clara. Lauren's office, 9 a.m. Don't be late, he said, then hung up and turned off his phone. Let her sit with her choices. Let her feel what it was like to be alone in the dark, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. The next morning, Jordan called early. You need to see this, he urged. Nick met him at the office, where Jordan had spread papers across the conference table like evidence at a crime scene. I've been going through our client files, looking for patterns. It's not just the 3 we lost. Vincent approached 6 others. The only reason they didn't jump ship was loyalty to you, Jordan explained. He went after 6 clients? Nick asked, astounded. That we know of. Nick, this was coordinated, professional. He knew exactly who to target, when they were vulnerable, what to offer. Jordan pointed to a timeline he'd created. Every approach coincides with information only Clara had access to. She was that thorough? Nick questioned. Or he was that good at extracting information, Jordan met his eyes. I'm sorry, buddy, I know this is hard to hear. No, I need to know all of it. Nick studied the timeline. We can use this. If we can prove systematic corporate espionage, already ahead of you. I've got a meeting with Morrison's legal team this afternoon. They're very interested in going after Apex, Jordan informed him. And Vincent, Nick added. Ah, and Vincent, Jordan smiled grimly. Turns out we're not his only sufferers. Morrison found 3 other firms he's targeted. Same pattern every time. Let me guess. He seduced someone on the inside, Nick surmised. Not always women. Vincent's an equal opportunity hunter, Jordan gathered the papers. The FBI might be interested. Wire fraud across state lines, pattern of behavior, significant losses. Do it. Whatever it takes. Nick felt something cold and hard crystallize in his chest. I want him destroyed. And Clara? Jordan asked. Clara made her choices. She can live with the consequences, Nick stated firmly. That afternoon, Nick sat in Lauren's office, while Clara stammered through her confession. She looked smaller somehow. Designer clothes hanging loose, makeup unable to hide the ravages of sleepless nights. He said he loved me, she kept repeating. Said we'd run away together once the deal went through. What deal? Lauren's voice was professionally neutral. I don't know, something big. He needed capital quickly, said the return would set us up for life. Clara twisted her wedding ring. Still wearing it, Nick noticed. I thought I was investing in our future. By stealing from your husband, Lauren pressed. It wasn't stealing. It was community property. I had every right, Clara argued weakly. You had no right, Lauren slid a paper across the desk. This is a list of transfers. $200,000, moved to accounts we've traced to Vincent Corey. Did you authorize these? Clara's hands shook as she read. Yes, she admitted. Did your husband know about these transfers? Lauren continued. No, Clara whispered. Did you provide Vincent Corey with confidential information about your husband's business? Lauren questioned. A longer pause. Yes, she confessed. Lauren made notes. Mrs. Harmon, I need you to understand something. Your cooperation is the only thing standing between you and criminal prosecution. Your husband has graciously agreed to consider a civil resolution, but that's contingent on full disclosure. Do you understand? I understand. Clara's voice was barely a whisper. The rest of the meeting was brutal in its specificity. Every transfer documented, every pillow talk conversation recalled, every betrayal cataloged with Lauren's merciless precision. By the end, Clara was sobbing. What happens now? She asked. Now we try to recover the money. You'll sign over any claim to joint assets to offset the theft. Custody will be determined by the court, though, given the circumstances. Lauren let that hang. Do you have a lawyer? I can't afford one, Clara replied brokenly. Nick almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Outside Lauren's office, Clara caught his arm. Nick, please. I know I screwed up, but don't take Naomi from me. She's all I have left, she begged. You took yourself from Naomi the moment you chose Vincent over your family. Nick pulled free. But I'm not vindictive. We'll work out visitation, supervised at first. Supervised? Like I'm some kind of criminal, she exclaimed. Aren't you? He retorted. She flinched. I made mistakes. You made choices. Over and over for 4 months. You chose him. Now you get to live with that, he said. Then left her standing on the sidewalk, a broken bird in designer heels. That evening, Naomi was waiting in the living room. How did it go with Mom? She asked. About as well as expected, Nick replied. Is she going to jail? Naomi questioned. I don't know. Maybe, Nick sat beside his daughter. How would you feel about that? Naomi considered. Sad, angry, relieved? She looked at him. Is that terrible? Number. It's honest, Nick pulled her close. Whatever happens, we'll get through it. Dad? What was he like, Vincent? She asked. Nick thought about lying, spinning some story about a terrible man who'd corrupted her mother. But Naomi deserved truth. I never met him, but from what I've learned, he was very good at telling people what they wanted to hear. Your mom, she was lonely, I think. Vulnerable. He saw that and used it, he explained. She could have talked to you about being lonely, Naomi pointed out. She could have. But sometimes people lose their way. Make bad choices that lead to worse ones, Nick kissed her head. The important thing is, we don't let her choices define us. We move forward. Together, she asked. Together, he affirmed. That night, Nick's phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Harmon, this is Vincent Corey, the voice said. Nick's blood froze. How did you get this number? He demanded. Clara gave it to me, back when she gave me everything else. The voice was smooth, cultured, utterly without remorse. I understand you've been looking for me. I've been documenting your crimes, if that's what you mean, Nick stated. Crimes? I think you'll find everything was quite legal. Your wife authorized those transfers, gave me that information freely. Enthusiastically, even, Vincent said dismissively. We'll see what the FBI thinks, Nick countered. Vincent laughed. The FBI? How dramatic. Tell me, Mr. Harmon, what exactly do you hope to accomplish? The money's gone, invested in opportunities you couldn't begin to understand. Your wife's reputation is ruined. Your marriage is over. What's left to fight for? Justice, Nick replied. Justice. Vincent said it like a foreign word. How quaint. Let me paint you a picture of how this ends. You'll spend months, maybe years, pursuing legal action, burning through what little money you have left on lawyers and forensic accountants. Meanwhile, I'll be in Switzerland or Singapore or wherever men with means go when small men make too much noise. Your daughter will grow up watching her father consumed by bitterness. Is that really what you want? What I want is for you to pay for what you've done, Nick said firmly. What I've done? I showed a lonely woman attention, made her feel special. If she chose to express her gratitude with gifts and information, well, that's hardly my fault, Vincent sneered. You targeted her, studied us. This was planned, Nick accused. Prove it, Vincent's voice hardened. You think Clara was special? She was a mark, Mr. Harmon. Bored housewife with access to money and a husband too blind to see her desperation. I've had a dozen Claras. I'll have a dozen more. The only difference is, most husbands are smart enough to cut their losses. Is that what you think this is about? Money? Nick asked. Everything's about money. Your wife understood that. Shame you didn't, Vincent paused. Here's some free advice. Take what's left of your dignity and move on. Rebuild your little firm. Raise your daughter. Find some nice accountant to marry and live your beige life. But forget about me. Forget about justice. Because men like you don't win against men like me. We'll see, Nick stated. Yes, I suppose we will. Give Clara my regards. Tell her Tuesday's appointment is canceled. Permanently, Vincent said before the line went dead. Nick stood in his kitchen, phone gripped so tight his knuckles went white. Vincent's voice echoed. Men like you don't win against men like me. Maybe not. But he was going to try. The next weeks blurred together. Lawyers and investigators and court dates. Clara moved through it all like a ghost, signing whatever was put in front of her. The house went on the market. The divorce papers were filed. Custody arrangements made. Nick got primary. Clara got weekends, supervised by her sister. Jordan threw himself into rebuilding the firm. The clients who'd left came back, bringing horror stories about Apex's incompetence. New clients followed, drawn by the drama or impressed by Nick's handling of it. Slowly, painfully, they began to rebuild. The FBI did get involved. Agent Sarah Chen, all of 30 years old with eyes like a hunter, took Nick's statement with the kind of attention that suggested Vincent had made a mistake calling. He contacted you directly? She leaned forward. That's unusual? Men like Corey typically communicate through lawyers. He wanted to gloat, Nick explained. Or intimidate you into backing off, Chen made notes. Did you record the call? Number. Didn't think of it, he admitted. Next time, record everything. Men like Corey get cocky. Cocky makes mistakes, she advised. You think he'll call again? Nick asked. Oh, definitely. You're challenging him. Men like that can't resist, she predicted. She was right. Vincent called the following week, this time from a blocked number Nick was ready for. Still tilting at windmills, Mr. Harmon? Vincent taunted. Still stealing from desperate women, Mr. Corey? Nick retorted, hitting record on his phone. Stealing? Such an ugly word. I prefer accepting generous gifts, Vincent said smoothly. Is that what you told the FBI? Nick questioned. Silence. Then, you actually went to the feds? How disappointing. I credited you with more intelligence, Vincent said. Funny, I credited you with less stupidity. Crossing state lines makes it federal. But you knew that, Nick pointed out. I know many things, including where your daughter goes to school. Lovely girl. Looks like her mother, Vincent stated, his tone chilling. Nick's blood went cold. If you go near my daughter, he warned, relax. I don't hurt children. I'm merely observing that you have more to lose than money. Vincent's tone was conversational. Have you considered the impact of a prolonged legal battle on young Naomi? The stress? The publicity? Children can be so cruel when their classmates' parents are involved in scandal. Is that a threat? Nick asked sharply. It's a father's concern for another father's child. Drop this foolishness and everyone moves on with their lives. Persist and, well, these things have a way of getting messy, Vincent insinuated. Like your marriage will get when your wife learns about Clara, about the others, Nick challenged. Vincent laughed. You think Margaret doesn't know? My wife and I have an understanding. She enjoys the lifestyle I provide. I enjoy my freedoms. Everyone's happy. Clara wasn't happy, Nick stated. Clara was ecstatic for 4 months. The happiest she'd been in years. To hear her tell it. That's more than you gave her in 15, Vincent sneered. The barb hit home. Maybe. But I never stole from her, Nick replied. No, you just bored her into another man's bed. Tell me, which is worse? Vincent taunted before Nick hung up, letting Vincent have the last word. The recording was what mattered. Agent Chen was delighted. He admitted to the affair, referenced the money. This is good, Mr. Harmon. Very good, she praised. Is it enough? Nick asked. It's a start. We're building a case. These things take time, but Vincent Corey made a crucial error. He got personal. Men who get personal get sloppy, Chen observed. Spring came early that year. The house sold by March. Clara signing papers with the mechanical precision of someone beyond caring. She'd lost weight, her designer clothes hanging like costumes on a frame too small for them. Where will you go? Nick asked after the closing. Janet's letting me use her guest room until I find something. Clara stared at the check that represented her share after debts were paid. Not much. I've been applying for jobs. Turns out no one wants to hire a designer who stole from her family. It'll get better, Nick offered. Will it? She looked at him then, really looked, for the first time in months. Do you hate me, Nick? No, he replied honestly. You should. I hate me enough for both of us, she said, folding the check carefully. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Not just for getting caught, for all of it. You deserved better. We both did, Nick said. Number you deserved better. I got exactly what I deserved. She stood to leave, then paused. Vincent's wife called me. Did you know that? What did she want? He asked. To laugh, mostly. Told me I was number 7. Lucky number 7, she called me. Said I lasted longer than most. Claire's smile was bitter. Apparently, the Tuesday hotel room is a standing reservation. He just changes the woman. I'm sorry, Nick offered. Don't be. I made my choices, she said, moving toward the door. Take care of Naomi. Tell her I love her, even if she can't believe it right now. Nick watched her go, this stranger who'd once been his wife. He thought he'd feel something, satisfaction, vindication, closure. Instead, there was just emptiness, where 15 years used to live. Naomi adjusted to the new reality with the resilience of youth. The apartment Nick rented was smaller than their house, but closer to her school. She decorated her room with the careful precision of someone creating a sanctuary. It's nice here, she said, one evening, curled on the couch doing homework. Quieter. Smaller, you mean, Nick teased gently, number quieter. Like we can actually hear each other, she looked up from her algebra. Is that weird? No, sweetheart. That's not weird at all, he reassured her. His phone rang. Lauren. Nick? I have news. Vincent's been arrested, she announced. Nick sat up. When? He asked. This morning. Federal agents picked him up at his home. Wire fraud, tax evasion, and get this, bigamy, Lauren revealed. What? Nick exclaimed. Turns out his understanding with his wife wasn't quite what he claimed. He's been married to 2 other women, one in California, one in Florida. Lauren's voice held deep satisfaction. The FBI connected the dots when they investigated his finances. He's looking at 20 years minimum. What about the money? Nick asked. Frozen accounts are being traced. You might recover some of it. Not all, but some, she paused. Clara's testimony will be crucial. Is she prepared for that? I don't know. I'll ask, he replied. He called Clara, delivered the news. The silence stretched so long, he checked to make sure they were still connected. He's married to other women? Her voice was small. Other wives? Apparently, Nick confirmed. Oh, I'm such a fool, she whispered. You were targeted by a professional. It's not your fault, he tried to console her. Isn't it? I chose him. I chose to believe his lies. I chose to betray you, she laughed bitterly. And for what? To be number 7 on his list? Clara, he began. I'll testify. Whatever they need. I want him buried, she declared fiercely. The trial took 8 months. Clara testified for 3 days, detailing every encounter, every lie, every manipulation. She was brutal in her honesty, sparing herself nothing. Vincent sat at the defense table, still handsome, still wearing too much cologne, watching her with the detached interest of a scientist observing a failed experiment. Nick testified too, about the stolen clients, the blood accounts, the threats. He played the recorded phone calls, Vincent's smooth voice filling the courtroom with arrogance and contempt. The other wives testified, the other sufferers. A parade of broken people who'd believed in a man who saw them only as marks. The jury deliberated for 2 hours, guilty on all counts. At sentencing, Vincent finally spoke. Not to apologize, men like him never apologize, but to explain. People want to feel special, he said. I gave them that feeling. If they chose to pay for it, well, that's commerce, the oldest kind. 25 years. The gavel came down like punctuation on a sentence that had run too long. Outside the courthouse, Clara waited by Nick's car. Thank you for not pressing charges against me, for letting me testify, she said. You were a sufferer, too, he replied. Number 9 was a volunteer. There's a difference. She pulled her coat tighter. I'm moving to Portland. My cousin has a design firm there. She's giving me a chance. That's good. Fresh start, Nick acknowledged. Yeah, she looked at him. I know I have no right to ask, but will you tell Naomi I'm proud of her? That I think about her every day. I'll tell her, he promised. And Nick, you're a good man. I'm sorry I couldn't see that when it mattered, she said. then walked away before he could respond. He never saw her again. That night, Nick told Naomi about the verdict, about her mother's move to Portland. Is she going to be okay? Naomi asked. I think so. Eventually, Nick replied. Are we? She questioned. Nick looked at his daughter, taller now, growing into her sharp features. Yeah, sweetheart, we're going to be fine, he assured her. And they were. The firm recovered, stronger for the trials by fire. Jordan made full partner. They hired new people, good people who brought fresh energy to the work. Nick started dating again, tentatively. Coffee with Lauren that turned into dinner that turned into something careful and slow and real. She understood the scars, had her own. They fit together like broken pieces, finding their edges. A year after the trial, a check arrived. Restitution from Vincent's frozen accounts. Not everything, but enough. Enough to restart Naomi's college fund. Enough to feel like justice had been served, even if served cold. Naomi thrived. Art shows where both parents attended, Nick in the audience, Clara watching from Portland via FaceTime. Separate but trying. Broken but healing. One Tuesday, always a Tuesday, Nick's phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Harmon, this is Margaret Corey, Vincent's first wife. The real one, the woman said. Mrs. Corey, I'm sorry for, Nick began. Don't be sorry, you did me a favor. 25 years of looking the other way, of understanding. I'm free now, she paused. I wanted to thank you for not giving up, for fighting when everyone said to let it go. I had to, for my daughter, he replied. Yes, we do things for our children we'd never do for ourselves. Her voice was warm. I also wanted you to know, the Tuesday hotel room, I had it fumigated, seemed appropriate. Nick laughed, surprising himself. Very appropriate, he agreed. Take care, Mr. Harmon. Enjoy your life. You've earned it, she said. The call ended. Nick sat in his office, their office, his and Jordan's and the new team's, and looked out at the city. Spring again. Always spring when things changed. His phone buzzed. Lauren. Dinner tonight? Naomi's choice of restaurant. He smiled, typed back, Perfect. See you at 7. Perfect. Not the life he'd planned, not the family he'd built, but perfect in its own way. Honest. Real. Without the weight of secrets or the cologne of other men. The business of loyalty, he'd learned, wasn't about contracts or vows or promises made in white dresses and rented tuxes. It was about showing up, day after day, even when, especially when, the world fell apart. Nick closed his laptop, gathered his things. Time to go home, time to have dinner with his daughter, and the woman who might become something more. Time to live the life that remained after the fire. Vincent was wrong. Men like Nick did win, not by destroying, not by taking, but by enduring, by rebuilding, by choosing hope over bitterness, love over revenge. The elevator carried him down to the street. The city pulsed around him, full of people with their own secrets, their own betrayals, their own choices. But tonight, Nick Harmon walked through it all with clear eyes and clean hands. He'd lost a wife, gained a truth, lost money, gained perspective, lost the life he'd known, gained one worth living. The business of loyalty had cost him everything. It had been worth every penny.